Slammy, Ego, Slammy, Ego, Slammy, Ego, Slammy, hey. You already know what's up. What's that? Another home run. We should know the job ain't done till we hold that trophy up. Hey.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome, episode 615, Talking Friars podcast and YouTube show. Ben Fadden with you here. It is July 7th, 2024. Padres dropped 2 out of 3 to the Arizona Diamondbacks. That was disappointing, especially with the way that the series started on Friday night with one of the wins of the year and just the roller coaster that game was. And I was like, okay, maybe this could be a really fun weekend at the ballpark. And instead, they dropped the last 2 games of this series, and they're still over 500, but they dropped to 4 games over. They're 49 and 45. There was news that came out during the game. There are a few Padres that will be joining Jurickson Profar in Arlington at the All-Star game. Some history made, so that's cool that we can talk about. There's news about Darvish, him going on the restricted list and what's happening there, so I'll get into that. And then I'll obviously get to the chat as well later in the show. But today, first off, Padres, a 9-1 loss. And if you would have just saw the score, you didn't watch the game, 9-1, oh, Padres, man, they got blown out, wasn't close, but that wasn't the case. This was a tie game, pretty late into the ball game, 6th inning? And then that's where it really got away. So Dylan Cease pitches today, gives up a homer in the first, and it's like, oh boy, here we go. But he settled down. Credit to him. There was at one point where he retired 9 or 10 straight, 12 of his last 13. But before he left the game, I believe he worked into the 7th inning. Yeah, into the 7th inning. He gave up that 2-run home run to Eugenio Suarez, who was the player of the game offensively for the D-backs. And that made it 3-1. And then after that, talk about falling apart. That's what happened with this bullpen. Enyo De Los Santos, today is his day for Padres fans to be pissed off at him. He goes 1 inning today, gives up 2 earned runs. You look at the box score, and Austin Davis gave up 4 earned runs, so it makes it look like, oh man, he was way worse. But Enyo, I mean, there was the ball down the first baseline that he doesn't pick up cleanly, and that should have been an out. There was the bases clearing double. I believe that was when De Los Santos was pitching and Suarez was hitting there. That ball was a meatball. He's been one of those inconsistent relievers. It's one thing if you go like 12, like Yuki Matsui, right? How before the other night, his struggles, he went 12 straight outings without allowing a run. And so, I can live with that. And De Los Santos, to be fair to him, he has had stretches where he hasn't allowed a run. I'm looking at his April, and he went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 straight without allowing a run. Like there's some spurts here where, yeah, he's been good, but his last 5 outings, last 2 outings, 5 earned runs combined. Obviously, that second to last outing, not today, but the one before, was on Friday, which got the Padres into this whole big situation before they had to come back. He went 2/3 of an inning and gave up 3 earned runs, which made Robert Suarez go into the game on Friday. And then he gave up the first pitch granny, gives up another home run. So, yeah, Enyo, he was, if you think about it, he was the reason why the Padres lost this series, because Suarez wasn't able to pitch yesterday because he pitched on Friday because of Enyo De Los Santos. And then today, Enyo doesn't pitch great. So, look, the offense, they definitely deserve blame here too. But takeaways from this game, my initial takeaways, what I think is like bullpen help come the trade deadline, before the deadline, that's going to come. I will be surprised if that does not come. I will be surprised if there's not another starting pitcher added by this Padres team. AJ, we know he is always looking. He can have one eye on the draft. We know how great he is at evaluation, talent evaluation, right? But we know he's always working the phones, and he's already been, now this isn't a surprise, but he's already been described as the most aggressive GM leading up to the deadline. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, there's relievers where you point to them and it's like, can you trust them right now in a big game? And right now it's July 7th. So they don't necessarily have to be in that top peak form right now. But the Padres do have to weigh that. They have to look at it and it's like, is Enyel De Los Santos, is obviously Austin Davis. I mean, that's not a high leverage guy, right? But you look at guys in this bullpen, Wandy Peralta the other night, right? You look at these guys and it's like, can we get upgrades? I'm not saying Wandy Peralta can't be in the bullpen come postseason time. Hopefully that, when the Padres make the postseason this year. I'm not saying even Enyel can't be in it. Not saying that. But should the Padres acquire guys that will be higher on the pecking order, higher on the ladder, if you will, if that makes sense, over Wandy Peralta, over Enyel De Los Santos? Can they get someone better than Yuki? And can it be someone better than Adrian Morejon? And so now it's Suarez, Estrada, the guy you acquire, Morejon, and then the rest fall in there, That's where I think the question is. And I think the answer is yes. I wonder what the Padres will have to give up to get that. But offensively today, I mean, yeah, no runners in scoring position. So while we can talk about the pitching, when you put no runners in scoring position, you're relying literally on pretty much home runs. And Profar got one in the first. Ball barely got off the ground. He continues to have the comeback player of the year season that he's having, obviously, the breakout season. And definitely deserves to be starting in the All-Star game, but he can't do it himself. And today, Arraez went over. Crony 1 for 4. Manny went over. Solano went over. Peralta over. Campy over. And for those that are asking, why wasn't Higgy in there? Well, pretty much because of the position that he plays. I know there's an off day tomorrow, but Higgy can't catch every day. And Mike Schilt, he does want to give at-bats to Campy. He does want to platoon those guys. Now, who is the starting catcher? It's Higgy. He deserves to be the starting catcher. He's been one of the best catchers in baseball since like the beginning of June, right? So he deserves it. But I'm not going to sit here and be like, why wasn't Higgy catching today? Schilt made it known essentially that Campy was going to be catching on Sunday because Higgy was catching on Friday, and then Waldron was pitching yesterday, so that means Higgy catches him. And so you're going to give Higgy back-to-back days and have Campy, who just came off the IL, I believe, before Friday's game, you're going to have him go into a game. But he was hitting ninth today. So that, again, like that shows that the Padres, they don't believe that Campy is who they were hoping he was going to be this season, at least right now, when you're batting him ninth. I don't know, as other Padres fans, like, you can tell me this, but I was hoping for Campy to be hitting like 5th, 6th this season and to progress offensively, but that's not where he is right now. Now, there have been other guys that have stepped up. Donovan Solano has stepped up. Jackson Merrill has stepped up. Arraez was added to this team, so that bumps other guys down. Profar has stepped up. So, that takes Campy, obviously, out of those spots there. But I wasn't expecting him to be hitting ninth this season. But that's where we're at. But, yeah, I mean, today, really, to sum the game up, it's not good enough offense, nowhere near good enough offense. And the bullpen, took the Padres out of this game. Dylan Cease, and notice I didn't say Dylan Cease took the Padres out of this game because he didn't. He went 7 innings and gave up 3 earned runs. Like, that's still a quality start. Walked 1 guy, struck out 8. And after that first home run that he allowed, he found himself. He was pitching well. He was pounding the strike zone. And then he gave up that homer to Suarez, which I wasn't even that mad at Cease when I saw the pitch location, watching the replays after the homer was hit. Suarez got to that ball. That pitch was inside, and Suarez somehow got out in front of that pitch. He didn't even get fully. It wasn't his best swing on that. It was the Cease velocity, and he got out in front and took it out. So I give more credit to Suarez on that than like being pissed off at Dylan Cease for giving up that homer. The first inning, even though that one was out of the zone, it was still up in the zone, fastball. That was his third fastball out of the 4 pitches in that at bat to Corbin Carroll. So Carroll felt like he knew what was coming. And so it's kind of the predictability I think that's what's gotten Cease into some trouble is he keeps relying on that fastball. Fastball, fastball, fastball. Eventually it's going to get the guy out. And sometimes it doesn't. It goes over the middle of the plate. And like I said the other day, 97, 98, that's not scary to hitters nowadays because they see that all the time. So frustrating loss today. Another one that was frustrating was yesterday, a 7-5 loss, in extra innings. Padres had chances. They had the bases loaded in that 10th inning. On my post-game reaction yesterday, I was talking about how many guys were left on base, 11. Runners in scoring position, 6 for 19. D-backs, they went 4 for 11, but they had a better percentage of converting with runners in scoring position. They left fewer guys on base. Brandon Pfaadt allowed 1 earned run. Waldron allowed 3. And they got the long ball yesterday. The D-backs did. Bottom 1, Manny has the RBI single. Not hit hard, but put the ball in play. Good things can happen. Made it 1-0 Pods. Top of the second, 1-1, Kevin Newman, RBI single. Top 4, Lourdes Gurriel Jr. That ball was smacked. That was not a good knuckleball from Waldron. Made it 2-1. Then in the 7th, Jose Herrera doubles down the line, makes it 3-1. Perdomo, 4-1 on the triple. That left field line, down the left field line last night, that was used a lot. That left field line got worn out. But Padres come back like they have a lot this season. Bottom 7, Profar with the double down the line, made it 4-2. Then Crony, I loved what he was doing there. Wasn't expected, obviously. The late drop it down for a bunt, beats it out and scores a run, makes it 4-3. Then Kim comes through with the double to tie it up. And then in the 10th, where Wandy, he struggled. And yesterday was his night to get the wrath of Padres fans on social media, And I said on my post-game reaction last night, maybe some don't agree, but Wandy didn't pitch good, but he didn't pitch terribly. The runs that he allowed, especially like Christian Walker. So I'm not excusing the walk, or I think he gave up a hit as well before that to load the bases. But the hit that he gave up to Christian Walker, that ball was hit off the end of the bat. The infield was played in. Now, it was because of the situation Wandy put the Padres in. But I'm just talking about that at bat and the pitch and the hit. It wasn't hit super hard. Kim probably would have gotten to it if the infield was back, but it wasn't. And so, that was that. Wandy is a veteran reliever. I'm not going to be someone sitting here calling for Wandy to be DFA'd, have him be put off the roster. It's not what I'm going to do. Is he someone that I'm going to trust right now in high leverage situations? No. Enyo De Los Santos? No. I already listed my high leverage reliever guys. It's Suarez, it's Estrada, it's Morejon. Those are the 3, and then you can go work your way from there, in my opinion. And last night, putting you in a hole there, 3-run hole, it's hard, even in extra innings. Like, sure, the Padres are in it. I believe they've come back earlier this year where they were down 2 or 3 and they came back and won that game. And with the runner on second base rule in extra innings, it makes it, more believable that, you can come back, because even if you're down by 3, put a runner on and then you hit a bomb and boom, the game's tied just like that. So there's still the hope there, even when you're down 3, but it does make it hard on your offense. It puts a lot of pressure on your offense to come through. And when you're down, like I said in my post-game reaction last night, when you're down by 3 like that, guys are going to have to come through in the order. It's not, what I mean by that is, it's not like you're just going to, even if you get a favorable part of your order up, the first 3 guys, it's probably going to take more than that. And so you get down to the Bryce Johnsons of the world, Ha-Sung Kim have to try to come up big again. And that's, where it gets tough. Waldron, I thought it was a solid outing from him. The Fenway outing was not his best, but I thought he bounced back. I thought Dylan Cease bounced back today. I know he gave up a couple homers, and that's been an issue, but if you actually watched his outing, I was encouraged by what I saw. I was encouraged by what I saw from Waldron, and same goes for Cease. Jeremiah Estrada, loved what I saw from him last night. Went an inning, 2 strikeouts. By the way, he's lost like 17 pounds. He's eating carefully. It's not just the bread and rice, which I think was the update a couple weeks ago from Kevin Acee. So that's encouraging, but I just wonder, when is he going to get back to feeling like Jeremiah Estrada, who was striking out 13 batters in a row? When are we going to get that Jeremiah Estrada back? Hopefully we'll be able to get him back by, the end of the year when it matters the most, right? But I just love that he has had so many chances, I feel like, right? To just be like, you know what? I'm going to go on the IL. I'm not myself. I'm losing weight. I don't have the energy. But he's going out there and trying to help his team win in any way that he can. And I totally respect that. So props to him. So Padres lose last night 7-5. You wanted to have the magic. There was the opportunity to have that magic. There was the game time run up at the run on base, at third when Manny was up at the plate late in the game and the umpire took it out of his hands. Call strike 2 off the plate. Bill Miller, terrible last night. Call strike 2 off the plate. Manny then has to swing at a pitch in that same spot. I think it was a different pitch, but same pitch location. Swings at that. You could tell he didn't want to swing at that, but he had to because of Bill Miller calling strike 2 earlier in that at-bat. And I just wonder if, it was an actual good strike zone, if Manny would have been able to come through there because he would not have been out in that situation there. Maybe the D-backs pitcher would not have went to that same location because an umpire not named Bill Miller maybe wouldn't have called that pitch. And who knows what the result would have been, but obviously we can't, go change that or anything. It's just frustrating. You want that consistency, the in-zone consistency. There was consistency last night. I mean, because there were pitches outside the zone like that the Padres got. It's not like it was just the D-backs. But I'm talking about consistency of, okay, is it a strike or not? If you're going to be consistent and call pitches that are balls, you call them strikes. I guess at least that you're consistent. I can give you that. And I know umpiring is a hard thing to do, but it's one of those things like it's a ball or a strike. There's the review system going on in the minors, and it's like it seems like it's working pretty good. Why can't we have that be in the majors? And you look at other sports, and they've got the VAR in soccer to see if something's offsides or not. You got NBA where, they go to the replay, they go to the monitor, they go to New Jersey or wherever their replay is to look at a call. Safer out on the bases, you go to the replay in Jersey. If it's a ball, it's a ball. If it's a strike, it's a strike. The whole human element stuff, I get irritated by that. Sure, are ejections entertaining every once in a while? Yeah. But what's not fun is the umpires taking the bat out of your superstar's hands in a crucial, close situation. And the Padres can miss the postseason or miss out on a spot that they want in the postseason by a couple games. And if some calls were called, I'm not even saying if calls went their way. I'm saying if calls were called correctly, I wonder if it would have played out differently. Have the Padres got calls? Yes. So I don't want to make it seem like it's just an anti-Padres thing that these umpires have, like this agenda. I'm not saying they do. I'm just expressing my frustration about it. So these last 2 games of this series, yeah, it was frustrating because you look at the line that Waldron had, quality start, kept the Padres in the game. They had an opportunity there in extras, but, the bullpen didn't help them out. And then today, it was a close game through 6 innings. through 7, really, 3-1 through 7. I mean, I guess you could say they were in it in the 8th as well, because it was, what, 4-1? And then the 5-run ninth inning is what killed the Padres, obviously, and the offense. But it's just, like, you can make the case that they should have won this series, could have had an opportunity to sweep, and it's just some things that go another way, and we're looking at a series loss here, and their series win streak ends at 4. But the highlight of this series and one of the highlights of this season was on Friday. Padres win 10-8, and they had it. They had it in the bag, and it was like, okay, this is going to be a nice, solid win. Not going to have to use Robert Suarez. We can use him for the last couple games of this D-back series, which would have been helpful yesterday, by the way. Have the off day Monday, 2 games against the Mariners. You can use him both games there if you want to. Have the off day on Thursday before the Braves series. And then there's the All-Star break. So it's like, man, this could set up really well. And then it didn't. The Padres, they had, a 7-2 lead going into the 9th inning. And before we get to that 9th inning, by the way, I do want to give props to some guys, because on my initial post-game reaction outside Petco, I was just on such a high. I was not high. I was on such a high that I didn't mention Higgy. I'm like, after I posted, I'm like, I didn't mention Higgy. But he had some big at-bats in this game. So, bottom 2, Merrill with the grounder made it 2-1, Arizona. Then Merrill triples, clears the bases, or 2 RBI triple, made it 3-2. And then Peralta doubles against his former team, makes it 4-2. And then this is where Higgy starts, makes it 5-2 on the RBI single, up the middle, not trying to do too much. And even on the homers, it's like Merrill, he's not trying to homer. It's just what happens. And bottom 6, Higgy with a homer made it 7-2. And I was looking up during, I think, a half inning at Petco on Friday, just not to bash Austin Nola, because that's not what I was trying to do, just to put it into perspective how nuts this is from Higgy. Like, Higgy and Nola, going into the year, would we compare those two guys as, like, you think of them as veteran catchers, defense first, good teammates, good with the pitching staff? You don't think of them as power hitters. You don't think of them what they're going to bring to the table offensively, right? So I'm like, okay, well, let's compare Higgy and Nola. And Higgy already has more homers this season, and it's July 7th. Has more home runs. I think he has, 10? More home runs than Nola had in his Padres tenure. So for me, again, like, that stat's not the bash Nola, because I think we knew when we acquired him, this doesn't have a ton of power. He was coming off a good, hitting for average season, half season, with abbreviated season, by the way, with the Seattle Mariners at the time of that trade. But it's more to applaud Higgy and what he has brought to this Padres team, with Campy going down. And if Higgy didn't perform, then the Padres would be platooning him and Sully. And instead, Higgy has stepped up, and now he is definitely deserving of being the starting catcher and getting the majority of the playing time there behind the plate, not Luis Camposano, who, as I said earlier, I was hoping that guy was going to be the 5-6 hitter for this Padres team this year and really take that step forward. There's time, but maybe not a lot of time, because Higgy's going to be getting the majority of playing time. At least I hope. So he comes through with the homer, which was hit pretty far, by the way. Made it 7-2. But then this is where the comeback starts there. In the top of the 9th, Suarez is not in the game in the top of the 9th. Because, again, it's a 5-run lead, and it's like, yeah, we'll take this. Padres are going to take this. And so in that 9th inning, it was Enyel, right? He started that inning. Yeah. Enyel De Los Santos allows the single to Lourdes Gurriel, single to Gabby Moreno, walks Jake McCarthy, and it's like, okay, this guy cannot get someone out. He got Walker out, I believe, to start the inning. But 3 in a row, bases are loaded, and now it becomes a save situation because the game-tying run is up on deck. And Suarez come to the game. By the way, electric intro that he had. I posted a video of that on social media. I'd never seen that before at Petco, so that was new, unless I just totally missed something when I was at a Suarez save opportunity game. But that was cool. But what was not cool is what happened first pitch, grand slam. And it was Alec Thomas, which that grand slam, I mean, if you're watching today, the Corbin Carroll homer reminded you of the Thomas granny because I believe it was around sweet spot, around the same spot, and it was hit kind of comparable swings, right? Lefties, grand slam, homer to right field. And so that made it 7-6. And that happens, and I'm standing there like stunned. But I wasn't like crushed at that point because, hey, Padres, it's still 7-6. We still got the lead. It's all right. Suarez isn't going to give up another homer, right? Gets the ground out of Perdomo. Now there's 2 outs, but then gives up the Corbin Carroll double. Carroll hustled to get the double, by the way. And then Randall Grichuk comes up. And I'm like, why is Grichuk up at the plate when Ketel Marte's spot is up at the order? The starting second baseman in the All-Star game? What are we doing here? But Marte left with back tightness, I think, and he didn't play the rest of the series, which should have been a good thing for the Padres, but Padres ended up losing those 2 games that Marte didn't play. That's baseball. But Grichuk comes up, and obviously as a baseball fan, I know Grichuk can hit a homer, but I was not expecting that. And he hits a homer to left, and I'm standing, by the way, because there's 2 outs. And so usually at Petco, there's 2 outs. Padres fans stand. And it's like, all right, yeah, I had confidence that the game was going to be over. Still, and the Padres were going to squeak out that win, and it was going to be fine. But then Grichuk homers, and I just slumped down. It's like, this really just happened? Seriously? Like, this would have been a great feel-good win with Merrill down the line and Higgy coming through with a homer. I mean, Peralta against his former team. I was feeling good. And then for that to happen, obviously, this team is different from last year, so you still have the hope, but I'm not going to sit here and say I was like, oh, yeah, they're going to go win this game in the bottom of the 9th inning. My hope meter, my hope percentage, my battery life there was probably like 5%, 10%. It was not, it needed to be charged, if that makes sense. And so the Padres come up there in an 8-7 game, and I tweet, a Manny Machado walk-off would be nice. Not thinking like that was going to happen, but I looked at the order, and I saw, okay, it was Crony, it was Profar, Crony, Manny. Okay, down by 1. It's not down by 3 like it was last night. Okay, so maybe my hope battery life went from 10% to like 20, 25. It's not fully charged, even with who was coming up at the plate. And then Profar ties the game with a homer, and it's like, okay, I'm going nuts up there in 309. And there were fans that left, and I think this was their lesson to never leave a Padres game, especially this year, regardless of what the score is. If the Padres are down by 5, who cares? If they just choke the 5-run lead, who cares? You stay. And Jurickson Profar, I mean, you put the P in MVP for Profar, he's in that consideration. And baseball fans that are not paying attention to the Padres, they're not going to have Profar in that conversation. They're going to have big names. They'll have Harper. They'll have Shohei, Mookie before he got hurt. It's probably someone that maybe they would put Tatis in there before he got hurt. The big name. Ketel Marte's having a good year as well. I'm probably blanking on someone too, but they'd have those guys. But I don't think that they would think of Profar. But those that are following the game, that Profar deserves the MVP consideration. Not top 10, probably top 5. When it's MVP, I mean, we go back to 2022 with Manny and how he should have won the MVP in 2022, and he didn't. Is the MVP the best player, or is it, best player considering the circumstances that they were in? Because why not just make it the the BP, the best player award, instead of MVP? What's the point of having it as the MVP? And with Profar, considering the circumstances, the Padres didn't have a ton of depth to start the year in the outfield. You have Merrill as a question mark. I like the talent, but it was a question mark how he was going to do in center field. You have injuries. Bogart's down. Tatis down. Pitching down. I know that doesn't have anything to do with the offense, but it has something to do with the team and the talent on the team. And Profar, by the way, he's been dealing with the knee issue. Manny has been, banged up, right? There's been adversity with this team. And without Jurickson Profar, where would this Padres team be? I could say that about Merrill. I could say that about Crony. I could say that about Manny recently. I could say that about other guys. But where would they be without Jurickson Profar? Would they be in a playoff spot right now? They'd be in the hunt because of what the NL looks like, but they would not be 4 games over 500. I guarantee you that. And so MVP conversation, Profar deserves to be in that. And so he comes up big with the game-tying homer. We're going nuts up there. Crony works the walk. Wade pinch runs for him, and then Manny comes up to the plate and hits the homer. And that was one heck of a call by Don. I'm going to pull it up right now. What I also loved, by the way, was the D-backs call, because talk about laying out and just letting your audience feel like they're there and hear what the atmosphere is like at Petco. It was amazing. And I know the D-backs fans probably didn't like it because their team just, lost in heartbreaking fashion after they have a big old rally and then they lose like that. But it was awesome. By the way, Manny, since telling Kevin Acee on June 18th he will figure it out, this was entering yesterday's game. 377 average, 705 slugging, 1105 OPS, 6 homers, and 16 runs driven in. Is that good? I sure think so. All right, I'm going to pull it up here from Don. Here, quick break, actually, while I pull this up, and then I'll get back to it. Check out Gaglione Bros' famous cheesesteaks and garlic fries on Friars Road. You can visit their website, gaglionebros.com, for their entire menu and enjoy their cheesesteaks and fries at Petco Park and Snapdragon Stadium as well. All right, here is the Jurickson Profar game-tying home run audio from Don, and then I'll get to the Manny.
High fly ball to right field. Carroll going back onto the warning track at the wall. It is gone! Profar ties the game!
The stadium was so loud. I mean, how Don laid out like that, it was so loud. It almost felt like a playoff game. I hope I'm not exaggerating that for those that were there. Maybe you guys agree with me there. It felt like that. Because at least for me, when Profar has that homer, when Manny has that homer, I forget that it's a regular season game, Padres D-backs. I'm just in the moment like, holy cow, that just happened. Here's the Manny call.
In the air to deep left field. That ball is back, and it's headed into a sea of San Diegans. Manny Machado walks it off.
I mean, that's what it was. And Don, I think was it Mud in the booth? I think it was Mud. Just letting the atmosphere tell the story. The visuals, the noise of the crowd, just let that tell the story. That was amazing. Now, the D-backs booth, they did that same thing, but like they were stunned at what happened essentially. It's hilarious. Because Padre fans, some aren't the biggest fans of Bob Brenly, which is understandable. Trying to find it. The Korean call was amazing as well. Hold on one second.
독점 솔로포 매니 마차도의 끝내기 투런 이 경기를 끝내는 건 매니 마차도입니다.
I could listen to the Korean calls all day because when there's a big homer like that, it's like they turn into fans. Like both the play-by-play and the analyst. I don't think they do the games from Pekka. I think they do it from a studio somewhere. And off contact, they're like, "Oh!" Like, you could just tell how they turn into fans. It's awesome. I know that's not what you would do for a national broadcast, but it's not a national broadcast. It's for the Hasan Kim Korean fans. Here's the D-backs broadcast call.
Wade holds. Machado sends everybody home.
Just silence. Speechless. That was awesome. That's, there's been so many. I saw a tweet from someone where it laid out the, awesome moments so far this year from the Padres, like the comebacks, and it was the Dodgers, it was the Merrill walk-off, the Higgy walk-off, the Crony walk-off, the Manny walk-off, the comeback against the Braves. So much stuff. The Nationals games with Profar, right? And then, so the Profar walk-off, the game after that as well, and I'm probably missing some that he listed. And it's like, it's July 7th. And it was July 5th on that night. And we got all that already. That I feel like that's, a special season is made of that. Those moments. There's a bunch of them, right? We could point to that in 2022. How many special moments there were. In 2023, there were moments, and maybe it's just because it was a crappy year for us. I can't sit here and name 10 moments off the top of my head where I was like, oh yeah, what a moment, I think of last year and there's a couple that stand out, like the Crony Bogarts homers off Ohtani on July 4th. That stands out. But again, it's not like boom, 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 boom. I can, recall them super fast, So I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but I feel like a lot of special moments. I'm not saying this team's going to go win the World Series. Who knows what's going to happen? I sure hope so, obviously. And they've got the talent to do it. It feels like they have the talent to do it because this team has gone on runs, and that's what you need to do in October. This team has won series. They've won 4 series in a row. And guess what? That's all that matters in the postseason is you win the series. No one cares if you win the World Series or get to the World Series and you didn't sweep any teams. Who cares? It matters that you win the series. You can lose games. So I think that's important that we remember that here. I know it's the regular season and it would be great to go on a bunch of winning streaks all the time, but those are, across the diamond, those are a bunch of major leaguers that want to beat you at the same time as well. But it was just amazing. It was amazing because of who did it as well. I mean, let's face it, right? Because Manny and Profar did it. Profar having the MVP caliber season, or at least be in the consideration of that, right? MVP of the Padres this year. And Manny, he does, and it sucks for me to say this, but he doesn't have a ton of signature moments with the Padres. You look at other teams in baseball, right? Bryce Harper at the Phillies, he has a signature moment, the homer off of Suarez in the NLCS. He has that. Does Manny Machado have that signature postseason moment for the Padres? He has homers in the postseason. I don't want to make it seem like he doesn't have any moments. He had that bomb against the Phillies in the NLCS at Petco, and everything was going great then, obviously, before they lost that series. I believe he homered off of Kershaw in the postseason. Maybe I'm thinking that was the regular season. But I think in the wild card series, right, against the Cardinals, I believe he had a moment there. But it's not, you know, moments that immediately stand out. And I know this isn't the postseason, but this is a moment that we're going to remember. Manny Machado in a Padres uniform. I remember the walk-off that he had against the Giants, the walk-off homer. I'm going to remember this. And it's just one of those where it's like, man, that's nice that our captain, now some fans don't want him to be, but it is what it is, that Manny came up big, in a big situation like that. That's awesome. And I know I'm a Padres fan, but I don't care what team in baseball. I want to see that from every team in baseball. I want every fan base to be able to experience what we experienced. Maybe not Dodger fans, but they've already experienced it. To have their guy come up in a cool moment like that. Rockies fans. I don't care if it's a Rockies fan with Ryan McMahon or something. They had it right with Nolan Arenado before they traded him, right? The whole bloody face. Didn't he have a cycle and it was a walk-off or something like that? The Angels have a Mike Trout big moment like that. I don't care what team it is, but just for fan bases to experience what we were able to experience, especially if you were at the game like I was, that was just a special, special night. So I'm going to remember that for a while. A reminder of some of the other great partners of the show: Breaking Tea, Padres, Aztecs, Wave shirts and sweatshirts. Click that link in the description. They have a Jackson Barrel shirt out. They got Jurickson Profar shirts. So use that link to your advantage. Underdog Fantasy, you will get a 50% deposit match up to $250. Claim a special pick when you use code Talking Friars or click that link in the description. Use an Underdog Fantasy for it the first time. And then SeatGeek. Same code, Talking Friars, $20 off your first order, first-time users with that email there. For SeatGeek, they tell you if a seat is good value, bad value. I believe they show you the vantage point that you would get from your seats as well. So make sure to check them out. Just trying to help you all out there. Before getting to the chat, Michael King's hurt. Where do you see that? I'm not seeing that, so I'm not even going to get into that. But I just saw it in the chat real quick. But before getting to the chat and really going through it, I did want to get to some of the other news, other Padres news here. So Darvish was placed on the restricted list, and we don't have a ton of info here. I've seen some people on social media trying to explain what is happening and, what the reasoning is for Darvish being on the restricted list. I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to speculate because that's just not something that I would want other people doing if I was in that position. So I'm just not going to do it. But just the facts. He's on the restricted list. Kevin Acee wrote in his Padres Daily newsletter that it is not known if Darvish will return this season. He is not being paid while he attends to a personal matter. This is not, by the way, I want to be, straightforward here and clear. This is not like the Padres and Darvish are not on good terms. This is not what it is. It seems like it's a family thing. That's all I'm going to get into with the whole Darvish thing. That's what it seems like. I think Schilt mentioned that. That's why I said family. And it's a personal thing. He's taken time away to go deal with that. We don't know how long it's going to be. And right now, Darvish is on the IL. So he's on the restricted list. So I believe that means he's off the 40-man. He's not getting paid. And he is still, I believe, going to be doing some activities to still be ready for when he can come back. And obviously, he was on the IL with the groin hamstring. Then there was the elbow inflammation. And I believe the latest update was he was playing some catch. I don't know if he got on the mound before this whole personal matter came up. But it seems like when he comes back, there will have to be a buildup again. Remember, he had the rehab outing. Then there was the setback before he was going to throw the scheduled bullpen before start against the Nationals, but that never happened. And so this is just a question mark, a different question mark. There was already a question mark with Darvish. This is a different question mark now. And it sucks. The whole situation sucks because we want Darvish here with the team. We don't obviously want whatever is happening to be happening because clearly it's something that's not great. And so just, thinking of Darvish's family, if it indeed is a family issue. And now the question, though, of like, okay, what now? Does this mean the Padres, okay, they really go in on a starting pitcher? I don't think so. I think Preller is already was going to try his best to go get a starting pitcher. We'll see if it's going to be a frontline starting pitcher. Maybe it's a Jesus Luzardo, and he's not going to be ready at the deadline to go pitch for the Padres because he's on the IL. But maybe it's someone like that where maybe you don't have to give up as much because he's currently hurt. And you can trust your depth, or you trade for Luzardo and another guy that can pitch right now. Eric Fetty's out there. That's just a name that popped into my head right now. Maybe someone like that. Now, there's going to be a bunch of teams that probably want pitching, though. So that's the thing. So this whole Darvish thing, I don't think that affects what AJ Preller is going to do at the deadline. I hope Darvish isn't going to be out the whole season with this personal thing. And beyond that, it's still a question mark of how effective Darvish is going to be when he comes back. Because I see elbow inflammation. I know Schilt, I think at the time, was trying to downplay it, obviously. I don't care what Schilt, with all due respect to him, he has a job to do, which is to be optimistic, and part of his job, at least how he views it clearly with the media, is be optimistic. So if it was a huge problem, and he's just not going to say it publicly, I don't think. Unless it's like, okay, he's getting surgery, so yeah, like you have to say it. So I don't really care what we hear from them like publicly in interviews. If it was a little bit of elbow inflammation, I see elbow inflammation, and just like a lot of fans, I think, and I get worried because it's a pitcher. He's had problems with neck, groin, hamstring, elbow last year, right? He dealt with that as well. Bone spurs, right? Musgrove's been dealing with that too this year. So it's just question marks. There's the question mark with Musgrove still. He's ramping up. We'll see what happens there. I would not expect him to return until August at some point. So, yeah, starting pitching is a priority for the Padres at the deadline. That has not changed here. It just sucks that we're not talking about, Darvish, making rehab outings or making some good progress. We're kind of just saying, hoping for the best for Darvish and what's going on there. And who knows when he comes back. Just don't know when he's going to come back. That's the update there. And then more positive news. During the game today, it was announced, I believe, on ESPN that Jackson Merrill, Luis Arraez, and Robert Suarez are all headed to the All-Star game. And I'm happy for all of them. I'm most happy for Jackson Merrill and Robert Suarez because Arraez has been before, and he deserves it. He's hitting over 300. In terms of second baseman in the National League, it's him and Ketel Marte. So, yeah, Arraez deserves it. But in terms of like first time, and Suarez, this is someone that came from outside the United States. Padres took a chance on him, and he decided to stay in San Diego. I believe it was an extension, right? Yeah, it was an extension. Didn't go into the free agent market. Wasn't selfish. And he's being rewarded for it with an All-Star game appearance. And he got a ton of money in that contract that he got from the Padres, by the way. So I'm happy for him. And with Jackson Merrill, I'm so happy for him because like we've gotten to know his family as well. I think that has a part in this for me. I haven't met them, but seeing how happy they are for their son, obviously, like on social media and the interviews that they've done on Padres broadcasts. And it just seems like their family is so great. I think both of them are teachers, both of Jackson's parents. And Merrill, him having to change positions. He's training his butt off in the offseason to play left. Then he's told, go play center. He's like, all right, well, I'm going to play center, adjust to that. And he had pressure on him going into the year. He wasn't hitting third, but he was all we were talking about, it felt like, in spring training. And he comes out and performs. Then he hits rough patch, some struggles. And then he adapts and he adjusts. And then he comes in and is the June NL Rookie of the Month. And we see the power from him. And I'm so happy for him because he's going to get the opportunity to enjoy this. He is so, and I love this mentality. I'd like to think that I would have this mentality if I was in the big leagues because we're the same age at 21. I hope I'd have that same mentality. I've been told by some, like, I take some things too seriously. And Merrill, it feels like he takes this really seriously. All he cares about is winning. He was asked about the June NL Rookie of the Month, and he's like, dope, cool, but it's July now. That's over with. We're trying to win baseball games here. That's all it is. And I love that about him. He has quickly vaulted up, I think, all of our favorite Padre players lists, And so I love that he's going to get to enjoy this with teammates, not just himself going there, but with teammates, with his family in his rookie year. That is awesome. And he has made history, by the way. He is the first Padres rookie, I believe, in franchise history to be named an All-Star. And he is the youngest Padre to be an All-Star in Padre history. And there was a list that I want to say AJ Cassavell put out there. Yeah. Players younger than Jackson Merrill to appear in an All-Star game the last 40 seasons. Look at these names. Bryce Harper, Pudge Rodriguez, Ken Griffey Jr., Mike Trout, A-Rod, Jose Fernandez, Manny Machado, and Miguel Cabrera. What do all of those guys have in common? I mean, they were like Hall of Fame talents, right? Harper, Hall of Fame talent. Pudge, in the Hall of Fame. Griffey, in the Hall of Fame. Trout, going to be in the Hall of Fame. A-Rod, had the talent to be in the Hall of Fame before he made some stupid decisions. Jose Fernandez, really talented before, unfortunately, what happened. Manny Machado, Hall of Fame talent. I think he's headed to Cooperstown. And Miggy, he's going to be in Cooperstown. One of the best hitters that we've seen. So I'm not going to sit here and be like Jackson Merrill is going to Cooperstown. It's his rookie year. It's July 7th. We haven't even completed a full season. But he has the qualities to be a leader for this Padres team, not just on the field, but off the field and with his voice, not just his play, like leading by example, but just the whole package. And he has the traits, like looking at him in the box and all that, the traits to just be a consistent producer at the big league level and not fall off. The big leagues are tough, but I'm seeing very encouraging signs. Someone that's going to work his butt off. I mean, he has left me speechless sometimes this year, just watching him play. So I'm so pumped up for him. He is making history, Padres franchise history, and it's awesome. And Marty Caswell, by the way, she put this great. And by the way, her and Darren Smith, I hope that they land somewhere because it sucks that they're not on San Diego Sports 760 anymore. Just how abruptly that happened with, middle of the week and they're off the air. It just sucks. Like, I love listening to their show. So hopefully they'll find a spot because they deserve it. But Marty Caswell tweeted today, So the Padres trade Juan Soto to the Yankees, and their entire outfield is now in the All-Star game. Although Tatis won't play, it really is remarkable. And when you think of it that way, I mean, that's props to AJ Preller. That's props to all of these All-Stars. You trade Juan Soto, one of the best talents that we've seen. And obviously the headline when that happens is the Yankees get Juan Soto. And what happens? You sign Profar for $1 million. You have a rookie shortstop go play center field. And you have Tatis, sure. Like what he did, by the way, with like one leg this year so far, pretty darn impressive. But you have two question marks going in, and then you have Tatis, and all three of them are all-stars. And then you have Arraez, who Preller acquired, and you have Suarez, who's an all-star, who Preller opted to pay over Josh Hader. And by the way, got Suarez at like half the price. So, AJ Preller, you deserve your props, man. You do. He's made some really good moves, and he deserves credit for where this Padres team is at. Not full credit, but definitely deserves credit for where this Padres team is at. But yeah, just think about that. The way that Marty put that, tremendous. You trade Juan Soto to the Yankees, and it's all right. Our entire outfield, all-stars. And the Padres weren't going to sign Soto anyway. And it gave them the flexibility to go make other moves. So, I mean, the Yankees could go win the World Series, and, they love the Juan Soto deal. They could sign him to a long-term deal, and when he's a free agent, because I don't think he's going to sign an extension. And they could be like, well, his 1 year with the Yankees, that helped him know that this was the right spot for him. But considering the circumstances, the Padres did well. They have done well this year. This past off season and what they've done player acquisition wise so far this season. But yeah, super pumped. 5 all-stars, 4 might play in the game. Tatis won't because he's hurt. But Arraez, Merrill, Profar, Suarez, and then Tatis, obviously. Awesome. Profar is going to be starting. Merrill, I thought that he would replace Tatis on the roster if he didn't make this initial roster as a reserve. But I'm happy that he made it as a reserve because no one can say, oh, well, no, he was just a reserve. He was a replacement. Excuse me. He wasn't a reserve. He didn't actually make it. It was as a replacement. Because people have that slight against Jake Cronenworth, how he was a replacement, I believe, one of his years as an all-star. I think the Dodger Stadium all-star game. And it's like, I wish people wouldn't do that because you make the all-star game, whether you're initially on the roster or not, you're a good player. But you can't say that about Jackson Merrill. And he deserves to not have that asterisk there. He deserves to be an all-star. He's one of the best outfielders in the National League this season. Period. So that's going to be awesome watching that. And then obviously Kyrie getting to go. He's 6 years old. Getting to experience that with Jurickson. His dad starting in the All-Star game in Texas. That's awesome. All right. Let's get to the chat here. Hopefully everybody is doing well. Thank you so much for the time. I appreciate it. I'm just checking social media here. AJ Cassavell just tweeted out that Luis Arraez says this is his favorite All-Star nod. His father, mother, sister, they have not been able to attend the previous 2 when he was with the Twins, the Marlins. This year they have visas and will be in attendance. So, I mean, now I'm even happier for Luis Arraez. He moves up that list. I'm happy for all these guys, but Arraez, I was like, well, he's already been there, but to not be able to have your family there, that has to suck. So I'm definitely more happy now knowing this. Arraez says, this one is more special because they can go there with me and I can enjoy it with them. That's awesome. All right, get into the chat. John says, will they lose 50 before winning 50? Yeah, most likely. The Padres? So you think they're going to be under 500? They're 1 win away from 50. So I disagree with that. Big P says, I am beyond frustrated why Mike Shildt takes out Peralta last night because it would have been Peralta up to bat, not Johnson. I'm frustrated with why Shildt puts Wandy to pitch in the 10th. So, the Wandy one, I would ask, like, who else would you want him to go to there? And then, because Wandy's like the ground ball pitcher. And with David Peralta, it was defense, right? In that situation last night, the Padres in that situation, I'm trying to see when exactly was he taken out. No. Campe pinch hit for Peralta. Excuse me. Sorry. And then Johnson came in. Well, Peralta's a lefty, Campe's a righty, so it must have been matchup wise. That's why. So that's understandable. If you want the right on left instead of left on left. Suarez is a fraud. Yeah, I disagree with that. The best relievers sometimes have bad outings. And, Suarez did come into the game with the bases loaded. It's not like he got a clean inning. Yeah, he would say he has to be better. I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm just giving you the facts that was a tough situation to have to go into on Friday. Devin says, I'd be surprised if AJ doesn't make a move in a trade deadline. I've never seen AJ not participate in the deadline he's been a part of. Yeah, for sure. He's going to. Yeah, you're not, when your job could be on the line, you're not just going to sit on your hands. BG Hero says, loss sucks, but this is a good reset to get the best relievers rested. Well, why I disagree with that a little bit was they would have been rested anyway because there's a day off tomorrow. So, I'm not really going to take at least the relievers will be rested. I mean, I think I did that. When did I do that? I think the last series before this D-back series. But there was no off day. There's an off day tomorrow. So I'm not going to go with that. Devin says, despite losing the series, Padres haven't lost too much ground in the standings. Not too concerned at the moment, but hopefully they can finish the unofficial first half strong. For sure. They got the Mariners and the Braves coming up. Mariners for 2, Braves for 3, I think. We had to win this series because our schedule is so hard now. Well, yeah, coming out of the All-Star break, they beat the Braves, right? So they can do that. The Mariners, it's 2 games. If they split, okay. And I agree, what did suck was losing Waldron and Cease starts. Right? Waldron has been one of your best starters. And Cease, I thought, bounced back a little bit today. So yeah, that sucks there. But it's more coming out of the All-Star break where they don't play at home until the Dodger series. And I believe it's Cleveland, who's they're like the best team in the American League, right? Cleveland, is it Baltimore? And I think the Nationals, I want to say, are on that road trip. I could totally be wrong about the Orioles. Padres, 2024 schedule. Yeah, coming out of the break, it's the Guardians, Nationals, Orioles, Dodgers. Before Rockies, Pirates, Marlins, Pirate. Holy cow, Rockies. That is a long stretch. That's a 2+ week stretch of playing bad teams. Well, Pirates aren't bad, but I guess it's just the Pirates name that for all these years they've been bad that it feels like that. Or that's my first reaction, my initial reaction to seeing the Pirates. But yeah, it's tough coming out of the All-Star break. But we've seen it. The Padres have been able to play up to their competition at times this year. Yeah, I agree, Christopher. Wandy and Matsui have been inconsistent. Devin asks, is Xander coming back before or after the All-Star break? He wants to come back before. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back before. El Paso, their announcement when he was starting his rehab was that he was going to be there through Sunday, so through today. So off day tomorrow, could be back for that Mariner series. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, Xander has beaten his timeline. I don't think August was it. I think maybe that's what we thought because we were less optimistic than he was about it. But no, he's beaten it. Hopefully, he's not rushing back. Musgrove is supposed to come back in August. I think that's like the hopeful timeline here on him. Will says, don't you think Schilt should have taken Cease out and put in Estrada for one batter to face Suarez? Hang on one second. Let me look at my bullpen chart because I just want to make sure that Estrada was even available today. Okay. Well, he pitched 3 times in the last 4 days. Off day tomorrow. They could have done that. Yeah, they could have. Yeah, that was a long at bat by Perdomo. That hurt Cease because he kept going to the fastball, threw some breaking balls there, but that definitely got the pitch count up. Cease finished today with 103 pitches. So he started the 7th inning, right? Because he gave up that homer to Eugenio Suarez, right? Yeah. Schilt has now it has worked this season as well, but really like this D-back series for sure. He has gotten into trouble or his pitchers haven't performed the way he wanted to. Having the pitcher go out there for like the start an inning, get a batter out, let's say, before bringing in a reliever, instead of just allowing the reliever to start a clean inning. With Waldron last night, I wasn't the biggest fan. Like he was already at over 100 pitches. Sure, there's the bullpen shaky, but like give your guy a clean. Why send Waldron out there for one batter when he's thrown over 100 pitches? I don't remember the matchup. Maybe he has great numbers and they know more than I do, but so Schilt could totally, school me on an argument if he was talking to me right now about this, but just watching it, I was like, don't know about Waldron because you start the inning, you look at the pitch count, it's like he's not finishing this inning. So how long is he going to be out here for? Let's see. David says this series showed our number one weakness, our bullpen. Yeah. Yeah, if there's one area right now, because you could point to the rotation and be like, well, Musgrove's coming back at some point. We'll see what happens with Darvish. You got Waldron. You've got Michael King, who definitely has that talent, and he's healthy. You've got Dylan Cease, who we know he has the talent. You've got some guys in that rotation. You look at the bullpen, though, and you're like, well, if the rotation doesn't have everyone healthy, and not everyone's going to go 6 innings every time out, work into the 7th inning every time out, we got to get someone else that we can trust on the level that we can trust Morejon, Estrada, Suarez. I feel is what a lot of the fans think. And yeah, I agree with that. The offense, I don't think offense is the top priority. No, anyone saying Michael King is hurt, I don't believe that. I haven't seen anything from like actual reporters there in the clubhouse or Schilt say it or King say it that he's hurt. So I'm not even going to think that he is. Oh, David, I think if Darvish returns, they're still going to trade for a starter. I would be surprised if they don't. Matthias asks, any thoughts on Turso or Nellis? Yeah, I guess he's raking. I saw he's raking in AAA. So why have Bryce Johnson up when you could have Turso or Nellis up? I assume they like Johnson on defense. Remember, they have a Zokar not on the roster, so they have Johnson having taken his spot. So I think that's why they have Peralta. He's not the best defender, so they like having Johnson go in there. I think that's why. It's not Ornelas. And because if it was Ornelas, it would probably be Peralta not on the roster anymore. And I don't know if the Padres are ready to do that right now. So that would be my thought on that. Let me look up Turso Ornelas and see what his numbers are. I feel like he does this every year, doesn't he? Where his name is mentioned. We see him in spring training. His name is mentioned by fans. Why not give him a shot? But then he doesn't come up. 2024. He has a 308 average, 893 OPS, but we got to remember he is playing in the Texas League and it's El Paso. But let's see. Since the start of June, he's hitting 330 with a 960 OPS. He's got 6 homers, 27 runs driven in 28 games. So he has a case, but wasn't Bryce Johnson playing fine as well? I don't think he was on this level like Turso, but the defense, again, I think is the reasoning there. All right. That's going to do it. Talking Friars episode 615. Thank you all for the time. Hopefully everyone has a great day off tomorrow of Padres baseball. Had some good news with some All-Stars making the team. The National League reserves, Merrill, Arraez, Suarez, and then they joined Tatis and Profar. And we'll see how the Padres can do against Seattle and Atlanta before the break.